Our anniversary had always meant something to me. 12 years together, weathering storms, building a life, making sacrifices. So when my wife said she had a special surprise planned for dinner, I took it as a good sign. Maybe we were finally coming back together after months of feeling distant. I dressed up, even shaved, a rare event these days. The restaurant she picked was one of our old favorites. A cozy little place tucked between overpriced boutiques and wine bars. A place where we'd once laughed over cheap wine and made plans for the future. So I showed up a few minutes early, ready to reclaim a little bit of us. When she walked in, I stood up like I always did. Habit, I guess. She looked stunning, but something in her eyes felt off. Cold, distant. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe she was just nervous or tired from work. Then she said, "There's someone I want you to meet." Out from behind her stepped a man, tall, dressed sharp, with that practiced smirk I've seen on too many men who think they're God's gift. She sat down across from me, and he slid in right next to her, far too comfortable. She smiled like she was unveiling a birthday cake. "This is Nathan," she said, "my new partner." I blinked. Just once. The silence stretched like a held breath. I looked at her, then at him, then back at her. My mind tried to make sense of it. Partner in what? Work? A prank? She didn't flinch, didn't smile nervously. This was real. I set my fork down slowly. My voice came out smooth, calmer than I expected. "Charming," I said. Then I reached for the check, paid the bill in full, both meals included, and stood up. Neither of them spoke. Nathan just raised an eyebrow. My wife, ex-wife-to-be, looked confused, maybe even a little disappointed, like I wasn't reacting the way she'd hoped. Without another word, I turned and walked out of that restaurant. No drama, no shouting, just quiet, cold clarity. What kind of woman introduces her affair as a surprise on the night? You're supposed to celebrate commitment? That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I drove home, poured myself a drink, and stared at the ceiling, because I already knew what tomorrow would bring. I woke up the next morning with a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in years. No confusion, no second-guessing, just cold certainty. For too long, I'd made excuses for her. I'd blamed the distance between us on stress, on long hours, on life getting in the way. But the truth was simpler. She had already left the marriage. She just hadn't told me until she could replace me. So I called my lawyer, told him everything. He didn't seem surprised. "These kinds of calls," he said, "were more common than people think. Let's move quickly," he advised. "The sooner you file, the less leverage she has." By noon, the paperwork was drafted. By 3 p.m., it was filed. I felt like I was floating through it all, emotionless, mechanical, deliberate. I wasn't reacting. I was responding. Around 4 p.m., the first call came in. Her name lit up my screen. I stared at it for a moment, then let it go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, another call, then a text. "We need to talk." Then another. "Why aren't you answering?" By 6 p.m., the messages turned frantic. She was spiraling, saying we needed to have a proper conversation, that I left too fast, that I misunderstood, that Nathan wasn't what I thought. "Oh, now you want to explain?" I read her words with a strange calm. This was the woman who sat across from me the night before and introduced her. Affair over steak and wine. She didn't expect me to walk away. She thought I'd beg, cry, fight, that I'd crumble like she probably rehearsed in her mind. Instead, I filed for divorce and went radio silent. She called again, then again, then again. So I opened my phone, scrolled to her contact, and hit block number. One tap. That's all it took to sever 1,000 tangled threads. I tossed the phone on the table and went to take a long, hot shower. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something close to peace. You don't realize how heavy someone's presence is until they're gone and the room finally breathes again. I knew this wasn't the end. There would be fallout, lawyers, paperwork, maybe even drama. But none of it mattered, because I was done. And that terrified her more than any angry outburst ever could. The next day started off quiet, peacefully even, the kind of silence that feels earned, not empty. I made coffee, opened the windows, let the breeze in. My phone didn't buzz, because she couldn't reach me anymore. But by mid-morning, the call started coming, from her lawyer. Apparently, she hadn't expected me to file first. She definitely hadn't expected me to move so quickly, so decisively. Her lawyer was polite, but clearly confused. "Your wife is under the impression this was premature," he said cautiously, like I might back down if he used the right tone. I didn't. I simply replied, "There's nothing premature about responding to betrayal." That was it. No further explanation. He sighed, clearly realizing I wasn't the man his client had painted in whatever sob story she'd given him. Around 3 p.m., she showed up, unannounced. I watched through the peephole as she stood on the porch, knocking like she owned the place, like everything hadn't changed. I didn't answer. She knocked again, then harder. Then came the voice, soft at first, then trembling. "Please, just talk to me." You didn't give me a chance to explain. I stood there, just on the other side of the door, unmoved. Why should I open it? So she could twist the knife with excuses? So she could paint her betrayal as a misunderstanding? No, she had her chance. She made her choice. She left eventually, her footsteps retreating down the steps. Her car door slamming a little too hard. But I didn't feel guilt, not even a flicker. Instead, I felt powerful. She never thought I'd walk away without a scene. She never thought I'd beat her to the exit. She expected chaos. But I gave her something far more terrifying: silence. Closure on my terms. In the weeks that followed, I didn't respond to her messages. I didn't engage when mutual friends reached out to hear my side. I let the paperwork do the talking. There's something liberating about choosing dignity over drama. You don't just take back your power, you reclaim your peace. And that's what I wish more people understood. Love doesn't always end in flames. Sometimes it ends in a quiet, deliberate step toward the door. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. So when I think back to that dinner, our so-called anniversary, I don't feel heartbreak. I feel grateful. Because that night, she showed me who she really was. And I finally chose me.